Hello, my name is Shade Berkey, and I will be going over PPO, Memorandum, Term Sheet, and Due Diligence. I am in your Tuesday, Thursday, 12:30 p.m. class. So, what is a private placement memorandum? A private placement memorandum is a legal document intended for potential investors when it involves stocks or securities in a business. So another way to put it is a document that discloses the company's information to help gain more capital. So there are a couple different names that go with a PPM, and one of them is called an offering memorandum or an offering document. And a PPM takes effect when dealing with private transactions or companies that fall below the SEC's registration threshold. So smaller companies might not necessarily meet the requirements needed to, or can fall under some exemptions, so they don't have to go through filing with the SEC and become public on that end, which is a very lengthy process. And it can take up to 10 months and also be up to $150,000 in fees just to file. So with the PPM, you will see smaller businesses doing this, and the cost can range from a couple thousand up to $35,000, depending on which law firm you choose to go with to draft up your PPM. So a PPM overall is a great idea for those smaller businesses that fall below the SEC requirement threshold, and it's an easier process to raise capital and a useful resource for companies' futures investors to look at before agreeing to invest in this company. So there are many different components that make up a PPM, and you can find a blank template online, or like I mentioned earlier, going to a specific writer or somebody who can draft it up, or a law firm. What is a term sheet? So a term sheet can be described as a non-binding agreement that is used between a company and an investor that gives an outline of the conditions of an investment deal. So it's a great starting point and template for more lengthy legal documents that will come up in the future. But again, both parties will agree to what is written on the term sheet, and from there they can draft longer legal documents. So it's kind of like a little gateway document that gets you through. And there are many different components to a term sheet. Well, there's 4 sections, and we'll walk through that. So the first is deal economics. Who gets what? That's a great question. Who gets this amount of money? Who gets this amount of money? That is what that section will be talking about. So the next one is investor rights and protection, which basically means protecting their investments. And so we can talk about how investors can optimize their end of the stick and trying to get the most out of their investment, but it's also important that those investments are protected, and that's the section where it's discussed. The third clause is governance management. So who is in control of what? It's important to know the voting rights, the board of directors, and who is in control, who are making these upward decisions, because this will affect the stockholders and shareholders. Lastly, we have number 4, exits and liquidity. What happens when it's cashing time? There's a correction. So who gets what? Kind of the same thing. When they decide to become or liquidize their company, who is going to get the first amount? That's that section. Moving on, what is due diligence? In the financial world, due diligence is an audit, review, or investigation performed to help confirm details or facts that are under consideration. So it's a great way to mitigate risk from an investment or business decision. So the process of due diligence is looking at a company's numbers, comparing those over time, and using those numbers to compare to other companies. Due diligence isn't just used in the financial world, but can be used in other things. So there's 10 steps in the due diligence process. The first is analyze the capitalization of the company. Number 2, revenue, profit, and margin trends. 3, competitors and industries. 4, valuation multiples. 5, management and share ownership. 6, balance sheet. 7, stock price history. 8, stock dilution possibilities. 9, expectations. And 10, examine long and short-term risks. So those are some things you should look for or go through for a due diligence process. And this is my works cited. Thank you so much, and thank you for a great semester.